Down here at the bottom left-hand corner of Antigua Shipyard, we have our teal Zerg player from the team FXO Open Esports. It's Lucky, still wearing that Lucky Foe U tag. His opponent here in the upper right-hand corner is our purple Terran player from the team Prime. It is Beon.
Beon, really, really good Terran, as we were saying. And, I mean, Lucky has... Could be having a little bit better results lately. It's definitely going to be favored towards Beon here, but... I mean, Antigua Shipyard, you know, it's not the worst map for Zerg by any means. It was pretty bad when you had like the pre-Mule era. It's crazy to think Antigua's been around that long. But you had like all these crazy timings basically as Terran would go to take their 4th base and be like, actually, I'm just going to drop 12 barracks and have an overwhelming quantity of Marines, and all of a sudden you can't take additional bases. It was pretty messed up. But now we're in this position where Antigua is actually like a pretty good map. It's still so easy for Terrans to secure and take that 3rd, however.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about the destructible rocks that are up at the front, it's very easy for Zerg players to just concentrate on those early on with a couple of Roaches, few Zerglings. And we are actually going to have a 2 racks opening from Beon once again. Of course, this isn't the... I mean, he certainly could follow this up with a bunch of SCVs and try and put on pressure, but they have a long way to run. It's going to give time for Lucky to prepare. He's not trying to hide these across the map, but he is giving himself defensive capabilities, and he obviously has the plan to expand out of this as the game goes along. So he'll put on pressure, he'll take advantage of it if he can, but he's not... This isn't the proxy, let's pull 12 SCVs and go version.
No, it's definitely... well, it's probably not going to be that, but at the same time, I really like 2 racks openings on Antigua because I love combat shields on timings on Antigua, and combat shields just transition so easily from a 2 racks opening. You already have 2 barracks at the wall off. You just throw down a 3rd, a supply depot, build your 4th barracks up on the high ground, start combat shields, and it's a great map for it. We actually saw Boxer use this against Nest T in a match that was just... I don't remember where, but it's pretty scary stuff. I really like that timing. It hits it very awkward with the current meta right now.
Okay, well, no SCVs pulled except for the 2 that were constructing barracks, so this will be a little bit of pressure put on, but of course not going to be as severe, like we said, as it would normally be. So first bunker is going to be put down here in a second. Of course, Lucky can't see this because there is no vision on, or there's just very slight 1 hex vision on buildings that are being constructed.
Now, I will be bringing a 2nd SCV, and that's just so cute because if I bring 2 SCVs, I have a much larger chance of finishing in this bunker, whereas if I only bring 1, I don't. And look, he's repairing the 2nd SCV with the one that he's brought. That's teamwork, Kevin.
That is teamwork, but this bunker's only a few seconds away from finishing 5 more, but now there's 3 Marines up to the front, and the Zerglings actually decided to go after the Marines rather than the SCVs for a second. They could have potentially killed one of them, but with 2 SCVs there, obviously it was going to be a little too difficult to try and deal with that. Zerglings are actually taking some pretty good damage, and the Spine Crawlers actually absorbed a bit as well. Zerglings are trying to get the surround. They can't get it, though. 2 Marines get inside of the bunker. 1 did fall, but that's not going to be enough to stop this push.
Now, Beon does know he needs to take out that Spine Crawler if he wants to kill that hatchery with this, because the Spine will spell the death of this. But at the same time, yeah, and he's going to turn nice job turning around with those Marines immediately when those Zerglings ran by here. Kevin, he's forcing a lot of units here out of Lucky, regardless. The Spine Crawler and the, what, 8, 9, 10 Zerglings we saw? Yeah,
but now 8 Zerglings are going to run smack dab into 4 Marines in just a second. This bunker is continually being repaired up. Nice position on the high ground here for Lucky, and he is eventually going to take this out, but this hatchery has taken a considerable amount of damage. 4 Marines are dealing with these Zerglings here in the middle of the map. There's still 4 Zerglings remaining, 3, 2, but there's just 1 Marine left, and it's going to come right down to the wire, but the Zerglings win.
Yes, they do. At the same time, the bunker cleaned up by a horde of Zerglings. We saw those in the production tab, guys, so no real surprise there. We said that bunker would be cleaned up. It wouldn't kill the hatch, but here's the thing. You know, Lucky at this point, he's sitting on a meager 15 drones. He's got 12 lings he can do absolutely nothing with because Beon's going to be able to wall off behind this. And that's, I mean, looks like he's going to leave now with the lings. Oh, actually, 4 Marines out towards the middle. This is going to be an easy kill for Lucky.
All right, 5 Marines now, but he pins them against the wall, and that is going to spell the death of these Marines. That's a pretty big issue for Beon. I mean, he's got to get back home and wall off right now. He's putting all of his Marines directly to the back. These 2 Marines should really retreat and get back and help defend. We're probably going to see... No, okay, there we go. With the 4 barracks up the front, that's going to be enough damage or enough hit points there in those structures to be able to help this.
3rd Command Center is going to go down for Beon here. And he's got 2 Marines in front and 2 Marines in back.
Yeah, he wanted to let those Marines finish, and obviously he couldn't pick up, otherwise he'd risk the Zerglings getting through. And it looks like Beon is going to hold for now, going up to a 3rd command center at the same time.
That definitely helped Lucky a lot, though. He cleaned up 7 additional Marines there and barely lost any Zerglings, so that gives him a nice disposition there on the units lost tab. And, well, as it stands, I mean, he's got map control, so...
And this is what we said earlier, too. He's taking map control, but at the same time, already working on these destructible debris, and that's going to present the problem for our Terran player to actually take a 3rd base here. Because once those go down, you have 2 distinct attack paths into the 3rd, and it's very difficult to watch both of those without a huge amount of siege tanks.
Yeah, if you put 2 siege tanks up on the top of that ledge when the rocks are still in existence, it's super easy to hold. But as soon as those rocks are gone, now you need a big supply depot wall off, and a Zerg won't hesitate to Baneling bust through a supply depot like they will destructible rocks.
Oh, yeah. This hatchery, though, is the 3rd hatchery on the field in total for Lucky, who has slowly started accumulating gas, but with his pretty decent economy he's got going on, yeah, he's going to be up to about 40 workers here in just a second. He is also going to have that defensive Baneling nest, could decide to use it to poke in a little bit later on once Beon decides to pick up that 3rd base, though.
Mm-hmm. Which should be a little ways off here. I mean, Beon opened with a lot of Marines, but he lost so much early on. I mean, he lost those 7 Marines were such a big deal. I mean, that's like how many he has right now. If he had, he's probably, what is it, 10? Okay, he's actually got 15. So, but he'd have 21 Marines. I mean, that is such a scarier quantity to move out with. And he's going to be moving out with these here in just a second. Probably to secure that 3rd, maybe to do a push. Wait and see. But the rocks are about to fall, so I mean, that's really going to open up that attack path. Nice here from Lucky. He's going to be able to see these units.
Yeah, and decides that it's worth it just to finish up those destructible debris first. Marines are going to sneak around the vision of the Xel'Naga Tower, but Lucky already knows that these Marines are posturing on the map, so he's made another 16 speedlings. He's keeping his units all across just to make sure that nothing hits him in any sort of surprise, but Beon has successfully avoided vision for quite a while.
This is where I want to see Beon go home. He's out on the map with these Marines now. They don't have combat shields. They're easy pickings. And he knows that Lucky saw him leave. So, I mean, he's skirting around the edge of the Xel'Naga Tower as if this is some big secret. But the reality is that he's already forced the units out of Lucky. He's done the economic damage that he needed to do. And all that stands now is really for Beon to get caught.
And that's what happens. But that's a really nice position
yeah.
for Marines to be in because Zerglings can only attack a very small portion of those. With Banelings coming up, these Marines are actually going to get cleaned up and not going to do that much economic damage in return.
Yeah, like Banelings with Marines with no combat shields, it's 1 Baneling, guys. So here they come. I mean, he's going to need the sickest target firing. It's not going to happen. It does take 3 Banelings to kill those, but overall, Beon just loses these units in relative cost inefficiency.
Yeah, I mean, back at home,
wasn't actually that bad.
Yeah, I mean, his tech's a little bit behind. There's no starport out quite yet. He's just sitting on his factory. Now, he is getting siege mode, and he's prioritizing that early, and that's absolutely what he has to do, because a big follow-up to this would just kill him, especially with these destructible debris down over at his 3rd. Anytime you would try to take it, he has to secure it with tanks.
Yeah. No, that's completely true. And tanks with siege mode. Let's point that out.
Yes.
But I hate that Beon lost those Marines because he would be so much more threatening right now if he had them. Lucky, you know, he feels so comfortable droning and teching and doing all the Spire and double upgrades, doing so much right now, is FXO Lucky. And should be taking his 4th base in the near future because he's going to see this 3rd coming out from Beon. And I don't know that there's much he wants to do to try to deny it because the siege tank should be creeping down momentarily. But hey, he's going to catch a few free Marines. Why not pull him back with the bulk as the siege tank does finish on the high ground?
Stim is done now, so these Marines do have a little bit of additional DPS. Nice job pulling those back into the range of the siege tank, which immediately snags 3 kills. But this Overlord's still sitting here. It's just been pooping away and dropping down creep and continuing to be annoying.
There is no burrow on the way, notably. So, I mean, JKS, you know, it's a little bit more harassment-based, I guess. That was, I mean, I just love Overlord and Zergling burrow, but here we are. This is completely denied right now. This 2nd siege tank should make the difference. He'll be able to siege it up a lot closer, cover the siege tanks with each other. And here we go. That's going to force those units out. Now the Marines, he'll be able to secure this 3rd from here.
Yep, and picking off that Overlord right now. Bye-bye. But it's still going to take a full minute for this creep to recede. At the same time, Lucky's gone to his 5th and 6th gas. He's got his macro hatch just finishing up. 5 Mutalisks are on the way too, so he's going to start doing damage through the air. And right now, Beon, he has some missile turret coverage, but he's so far behind on his starport tech that he has no way to be able to sustain these Marines. And they've already taken significant damage, and they're in relatively small numbers compared to where they should be at this stage of the game, that it's a little bit disconcerting.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing... Lucky is playing a great game. Because Beon's a phenomenal player, but here we are in this position where I really like where Lucky's at. I mean, he's taking his 4th base now, as that Beon's 3rd is completely underway, but he's moving out with mutas. He's got +1 air, he's got +2/+2 on the ground, centrifugal hooks is about to finish, and he's pumping a lot of lings, because he feels very comfortable where he's at economically.
And any Marine's going to stim back and help this? Nope. Looks like this supply depot is a goner, unfortunately. And that is actually a problem because you really want vision behind these gas vents. It's not something you talk about a whole lot nowadays, but when maps like Metalopolis were popular, you talked about gas vents all the time as a way to prohibit vision. And it is something that Lucky could take advantage of, whether through the use of Nidus play or just dropping stuff off into this little gas chamber.
No, you're completely right. I mean, it's not as big as the one on Metalopolis, but it's still enough that you can build a Nidus worm in there, and that can just prove extremely devastating, as we witnessed earlier in this set. But here we are. I mean, it's a 3-base Terran versus a 4-base Zerg. That's exactly where Lucky wants to be.
Yeah, I mean, and he's keeping his opponent pinned in with these Mutalisks. I mean, they're not going to be able to get too much done here. This missile turret could fall pretty quickly to that number of Mutalisks, so Beon is going to need to react very quickly if he wants to save it, and he cannot. So this this base is up for grabs.
Snipes a mule.
Yeah, he's going to come right back through now with 2 missile turrets. There's not enough Marines there to be able to push these Mutalisks away.
Yeah, I mean, these mutas have +1. Look at the number of low hit point mutas that haven't been killed off. I mean, taking those home for a transfuse would be just so cool. So cool right now, Kevin.
Yeah, well, both our players are about maxed out. We're waiting on the 4th command center from Beon eventually because, you know, this is stabilizing to the days of old when TVZs were played out on this map all the time. And a lot of control revolved around who was able to take this base here in the middle of the map. And if you can retain control of the Zelnugga Tower here. But
that's a San Francisco ferry boat worth of banelings right now out of Lucky, and he looks like he's getting ready to get aggressive here versus Beon. What has he got for defensive setup? A lot of tanks. Very nice spread.
It really does, and the banelings are actually coming in from behind, so hopefully the tanks will be able to pick those out, target fire in the middle, but they're not, actually. The banelings were able to do whatever they wanted to, and that is a disaster so far, but they do run up through this tiny little choke point here off to the right-hand side, and a lot of those did get picked off, so Lucky not doing as much damage as he would have liked there, but he does manage to snag every single one of Beon's tanks.
He lost a lot of gas-based units, though. Tons of mutas, and all those banelings exploding on tanks that were split were not clumped. It's okay to banelings for tanks when they're clumped, but when they're spread out like that, Lucky was just like, I have nothing to do with these, so I may as well attack. And here's the thing, Beon's Marines were at his 3rd. They were in his main, so those banelings did nothing. He honestly just should have evacuated when he saw there were no Marines.
Yeah, and Beon, he does have his...
With the banelings, not entirely.
Yeah, I know what you mean. The command center is forced to be canceled, and Beon is going to try and regather his forces here in the middle of the map. And Lucky actually has a decent enough economic position that he can start to trade these for continued base cancels, because he can throw in units, and as long as he keeps killing the tanks and doesn't allow Beon enough units to be able to regather his forces in the middle of the map, then he can just move out, do a little damage, move out, do a little damage, take another base, move out, do a little damage, and just starve his opponent out on 3 bases.
Yeah, it's what he needs to do. He's really low on gas and muta count at this stage, and then he's stuck on Ling, Bane, muta, so he needs to keep the pressure, make sure that Beon keeps making units, because like you were saying, like if he can starve Beon, that's great. But if he goes and techs up to tier 3 tech right now, Beon's going to be able to take a 4th because there won't be enough units on the field to deny it. And all of a sudden, we're in a dangerous situation. But this is, I mean, this is still very tenuous right now because Lucky, he's stuck on this Ling Bane Muta right now.
Yeah, and if Beon can get himself a cost-efficient trade enough, he can start to move out and try and do damage on his own. The tanks are all sieged up in the front, though. The banelings coming in from behind. A lot better target fire this time from Beon on the banelings, but there's still so many of them that they're able to connect with a vast majority of the Marines in any case. The Thor absorbing a few of those shots, too. Nice job there, but the Zerglings have made their way successfully into the natural. The Mutalisks are going pretty unopposed for now, but once again, Beon does hold.
Yeah, he does, but 150 to 100, a little bit of a bigger spread. Zergling reinforcements are also inbound. Losing siege tanks, though. That is so big for Lucky. Beon only losing 1, however, the second one not taken out, as Lucky is just a little too concerned with setting up his next attack, which is going to be another Ling Bane Muta, and I love this out of Lucky. I love that he's not going for the tier 3 right now. It still makes it very tricky, but I agree with you, Kevin. I think his best choice right now is to just starve Beon and not let him expand.
And looks like he's going to try for a little bit quicker attack this time, and this is risky, but he actually moves in at a perfect moment because the siege tank, there's just one of them on the ground right now that forces Beon to pick up his forces and get back out. These Banelings could do incredible damage to this orbital command. Looks like they're not going to waste themselves on that. They'll probably start ducking in and trying to take out this next command center, though, because he wasn't able to get any damage done to the right-hand side.
He's wasting Banelings right now. Misclick there from Lucky, but you are right coming in there because he knew he had sniped a siege tank. And he knew before that he had killed all the siege tanks. So your siege tank count is no higher than 3, and he came in, it was just 1, so that was great for Lucky.
All right, well, Beon finally feels like he needs to try and get some damage done, though. And the issue is, Lucky has actually had great creep spread. Throughout this entire process, he's had these 2 avenues of creep that have run up through the middle of the map, and he's still regathering his forces in the middle here, ready for another big Baneling push. Now, if Beon can hold on to this position with the Planetary Fortress, that's when he starts to stabilize, and that's when he's going to be fine. But if Lucky can continue pressuring that position, it's going to be very difficult for Beon to find his way back in.
All right, so Lucky's going for another expansion on the left-hand side of the map. I mean, can Beon, Beon needs to drop, but the real problem is that if he takes Marines to go for drops, Lucky's attacks may just kill him instead of, keeping him crippled and contained, you know?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, and, but Lucky, though, I mean, it's getting a little bit more interesting position because Beon, even though he's been starved out of a couple of bases, well, hold that thought here. We'll see how this attack goes as the Banelings are once again pretty clumped up, and the siege tanks could have taken out some pretty big hits of those. But again, there's just enough units once again for Lucky to be able to overwhelm his opponent's forces. Not sure why those Banelings ran away so quick. And then think, okay, there were 2 more tanks in the back. Okay, that makes more sense. And the Marines were able to rally back once again.
Yeah, that was real. Actually, Beon target fired those beautifully, which is something you have to point out because it's really tough, to in the middle of a fight realize a target fire opportunity. It's easy in the beginning. Hey, let me find the Banelings. But when you're halfway through a fight and you realize, oh, a clump of Banelings target and grab your tanks and target fire while you're still microing your Marines in such a way. I mean, that was phenomenal out of Beon hitting that Baneling clump. So Lucky, I mean, he's done it again though. He's still sitting on about a 50 supply advantage right now. It's 41.
Yeah, I mean, but if we take the workers out of this, the army is starting to catch up ever so slowly for Beon, and he needs to take a planetary fortress here in the middle. He absolutely has to. He's now out of his natural, he's out of his main, and he's getting very, very low on this third. So this is really his last effort. He has to take this base, and he has to take it in a hurry.
He really does. He absolutely does. And we're going to have a bunch of Mutalisks running up towards this top expansion. And Marines will be arriving, but 5 Marines chase away all the Mutalisks. But here are the mules that are the saving grace for Beon. If these mules die, he can't make anything. Can't make anything, Kevin. He has no money.
That's right. But for now, at least, he can continue with siege tank production and continue pressing forward. And it looks like Lucky's going to try and make it happen. His units are once again clumped up, and there's a few less Banelings this go-around than there were last time, but the sheer amount of Zerglings are still very powerful. But look at these tanks. They're killing such high quantities of units. Oh. Yes, they are finally going to fall, but they were up to 17 to 20 kills apiece, and it looks like Lucky is going to be repelled one more time, trying to take out this planetary fortress on the way out, but he can't get it. Beon holds.
Yes, he does. Beon holds, and that's the 4th or 5th time we found ourselves saying that. But here we are, Kevin, with saying about if Lucky can't get that damage in, and he's stuck on Ling Bane Muta for so long, and now he's trying to morph in Banelings. Beon could actually potentially push the, there's 24 Banelings behind this that just spawned, in fact. So Beon may think he just denied the Banelings and that Lucky has none, and it's lucky for him that he's pulling back. No pun intended at all.
Yeah, but Lucky with these counterattacks. Now this is the kind of damage that he wanted to do before, as he's now killed 50 workers in total, continuing to ratchet that up. His opponent down to just 30 SCVs, and his economy is going to be in shambles. Even with a brand new base, it's going to be difficult for Beon to get a foothold now.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't be more right about that. And in this situation, it's almost, I kind of want to see just Beon pick up everything and bring it out to this planetary, because he needs these command centers. He cannot afford to be losing these. He's losing 1 up towards the 12 o'clock right now. That is valuable mule counts for him. We'll save it for the moment, but more links are coming in to finish it off.
All right, yes they are. Will they be able to do so?
Nice.
It looks like it picks up, but now the Mutalisks are going to try and pick that off, and I don't think that anything is going to be there to repel those forces. So that orbital command is going to fall. Bye-bye.
All right, a couple of mutas will get taken out, but these counterattacks from Lucky are just ending this game slowly but surely because he's keeping Beon. Now look, Beon has so many Marines in his main base. Lucky could actually potentially go, if he had some Banelings, and go kill this Planetary.
Now,
there's nothing there.
Interesting decision from Lucky. He actually decides to put up 12 Mutalisks. That's 2,400 resources that he just put into that. That's not a frontline killing force, and it allows Beon the time to be able to start pushing and pressuring this base once again.
You know, I feel like if Beon tries to force some sort of a base race through the lack of Lucky having Banelings right now, the mute account could just win Lucky the game because he's brought it up, what, now to 20-something, 26
wow.
Is pretty, that's a lot of Banelings. Or Mutalisks.
Yeah, Mutalisk count.
It's a lot of Banelings, too.
Yeah, he's got quite a few of those. It's going to be 33 Mutas here in just a second. So Beon really wants to try and hold on to this base. He is effectively mining and building himself up quite the army at the moment. He's also going to try taking this base again here in the top left-hand corner. There's so many Mutalisks there, though, that even the amount of Marines is not going to be enough. They still do trade pretty cost-efficiently, but now he's got to split his forces. And as soon as he does, these little Zergling counterattacks are going to come right back in.
Can we actually take a look at the upgrades on the Marines?
Let's see here. Marine 3-3.
Okay. All right, so they are, I mean, if Lucky messes up, oh, tanks, all the tanks of Beon, and he cannot afford to be losing these. Luckily, he's got a couple of Marines that are going to arrive just in the nick of time and force these mutas away.
Yeah, a few more workers went down. That could have been a lot worse for Beon. That could have been a lot worse. And he is trying to hold on. Still, Lucky has a pretty decent advantage. This game has essentially turned into a 20-minute-long attack, is what it's ended up being. And don't forget, Lucky has this base running on the left-hand side. He has the top left-hand corner. So even though he's been driven off this one here in the middle, that's still not the worst situation for him.
It really, it's not so bad. The problem is just that he does not have any Tier 3 tech. And now he has no way to actually engage heads up against the army of Beon. You know, he doesn't have so many Banelings. He's got so much supply invested into these Mutalisks. He's really just a harassing machine now.
But another command center went down, and this one's just about to fall. He may even suicide directly on top of it. No, he's going to kill the Marines first. And when he does, that actually is probably going to be the very close to the end of the game, at least. Because now there's just one active command center, and Beon really needs more than that running.
A lot of people say we put the nail in the coffin. I feel like we put the glue on the coffin, and it's just drying. It's drying and sealing Beon up, guys, because he is slowly but surely suffocating in this game as he's at 130 supply and has no real means of continuing to increase it as he's going to be running out of minerals here.
Yeah, I mean, Mutalisks are dying slowly, ever so slowly, but look at that.
Yeah.
Another set of reinforcements comes in, and this has got to be frustrating for Beon. He tries to drop on the left-hand side, but he's got very, very little army to speak of.
Yeah, I mean, 6 siege tanks, but look at the Marines right as they spawn, just dying off. The mutas will be forced away. Still a lot of Marines there, but this, I mean, Lucky's economy is untouched right now. I can't see any way that he's going to be dropping this game.
25 mutas still remaining, actually 32, so there's a pack of some more that haven't actually joined the fight, and they're continuing to increase in number 2. Doesn't even bother magic boxing the Thor, it doesn't matter at this stage of the game, but that's finally enough Marines that he's going to be forced back once again.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have a lot of gas right now. If we take a look at his unit counting station, 19 Banelings. If Beon microed correctly, he could definitely kill the ground forces alone. So, I mean, Lucky does have to hold on to these mutas. He can't lose. If he, like, throws these away by accident, that's quick GG, but, and he's losing a few there. Coming around with another counterattack, though, with so many Zerglings into the main of Beon, and this is going to bring all his units home. Yeah,
and that does force the retreat of everything but the siege tanks, so the mutas could actually duck back in and pick off those siege tanks once again. Yeah, but the Mutalisks, it doesn't really matter at this stage. They're just picking off production facilities one by one, starving Beon out of this game. He's only working off of 5 barracks now 4, soon to be 3, and that number is actually going to drop as these attacks continue.
100 supply to 160. Somehow Beon is still 50-ish supply behind his opponent. These Marines, though, are not enough. Maybe if he had everything, but they're just going to get slaughtered by the Ling Muta here. And, I mean, he's still making... How is Beon... How
is he still in this game?
Yeah, like, he's, like, legitimately still in it, too. Like, I'm going to force your units away again, Lucky.
Yeah, well, he just lost yet another barracks. So he's down to 3. He's only producing 5 Marines at a time, and that's really his only production at this stage of the game. As now the tanks are finally going to get picked off one by one. Does that actually reduce his tank count to 0? It does. 1 Thor, 31 Marines, and that's it for Beon. I mean, this is so frustrating to play against. We see this in ZVP as well, that frustrating Muta style. Keeps a Protoss pinned in on just a couple of bases. Beon's in this till the end, though. He does not want to lose. He does not want to put FXO just one game away from taking the set.
Well, it is probably going to happen. Kevin, the Banelings we were talking about proper splitting. Will he have it? We saw some few nice connections there, but overall, it just doesn't matter. There's so many units, but Beon's in a great position here to kill off these Lings. He will be able to hold here.
And the Planetary Fortress just picked off 4 Banelings at the same time. So Beon is just, he is not going to give this up, guys. And, you know, Lucky through the whole process, he's not transitioned in tech at all. He's now mined himself out of 3 bases. He's been driven off this one in the middle. 1 Marine is actually going to work. And this is actually going to hurt quite a bit, because once these supply depots start falling, then Beon will actually not be able to create anything at all.
Yep, and now he's not mining at all.
No.
Yeah, he's not mining at all. Wait, he just made some money. And a little bit more.
Oh yeah, well now he's back. But
oh, there they are.
All right, well.
Sneaky SCVs are sneaky, Kevin.
Supply depots are down. No, Zerglings! Just kill that.
Oh, he doesn't have any orbitals.
And
that's pretty awesome from Lucky.
No detection whatsoever, and he is actually going to pick off a couple of hatcheries here. So he's still being annoying. He's not really doing anything about it.
Well, this is what we needed to see him doing all game. You know, you kind of got to get out there with like 1 or 2 Marines and force Overlords out of positions where they want to be for drops. Most people, you know, you don't hold position your Overlords that are out there for scouting, just like you don't patrol them, which you should.
Sure.
So if he had forced them out of the way, he would have opened up opportunities to drop, and then really could have gotten Lucky, you know, at least a little on the defensive. But we didn't see a single true drop play, I believe, from Beon this entire game.
That's a great position for those Marines to be in initially, as they're able to deal with the Lings pretty cost efficiently. But finally, units are coming through and cleaning these up. The last couple of Marines are falling, but here comes a medevac full of more. He's still in this. Kevin, fighting to the end. We're 40 minutes in now.
With 40 supply versus 142, Beon holds.
Tarson holds. Tarson holds. All right, anyway. Last couple of supply depots are down. 43 over 19 supply now for Beon. He can literally make nothing. There's GG. Took 37.5 minutes.
Beon doesn't hold.
Yeah, that is correct. And FXO does manage to take the game. So they are up now 4-1 here. And it looks like our technical director was going and grabbing a sandwich. So we'll jump back to us here in just a second. Anyway, that was kind of a ridiculous game.
What kind of a sandwich?
He was so bored with it, he had to run to go grab a sandwich and a drink. He couldn't handle it anymore.
He was like, this is really cheesy.
Well, the last player for Prime is coming in now. And as we predicted before, it is going to be Creator. Protoss player, no real surprise. Or at least that I would think. I mean, he's their best available player. Even though Prime's roster is pretty deep, we've seen basically every one of their heavy hitters so far. I'm ranking Maru, Beon.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
I mean, Creator, he is a really, really good... you take a look at BWC, it was pretty much all Protoss and Zerg. And Creator really excelled in that environment. So here we are. He is going to be facing off against the Zerg. And a lot of FXO's roster is Zerg. I think they have 2 Protosses and 2 Terrans, or 3 of 1.
Yeah, but I mean, we still have players like we were talking about before, Whale. You mentioned that you really enjoyed Lenok. So still a lot of strong Zerg players for them in the chamber. But we're going to see if Lucky can actually finish things off here. We're going to run to a commercial break, and when we get back, it's time for game number 6 between Creator and Lucky.